At the end of every recruiter phone screen or interview, it's pretty standard for candidates to be asked one final question. What questions do you have for me? And while that is pretty standard, the number of candidates whose face just goes blank or don't have any questions is actually pretty high. So if you find that you are one of those folks, it's okay. This video is here to help you out. But before we get into it, let me introduce myself. My name is Kim. I am a big tech recruiter and career advancement expert. I help professionals make more money without all the stress or confusion. So, if you are ready to land a higher paying job in 2026, please subscribe to my channel. I post twice a week about how to find a job, and I'd love to see you back here again. So let's get to it. Why does it even matter whether a candidate asks the interviewer questions? Folks, I get it. The interview dynamic feels very much like interviewer asks candidate questions. Isn't that how it goes? And the reason that I'm there is because I need a job. And yes, I absolutely understand that school of thought. But I think it's important to remember, regardless of what the economic climate is right now, this is a mutual selection process. What I mean by that is, yes, while the employer can decide whether or not to extend an offer to a candidate, the candidate can decide whether or not to accept that offer. So, in order for you to have the data that you need in order to make sure that this job is going to be the right job for you and your career aspirations, or for your family and your family's needs, come prepared with some questions because the interviewer should be prepared to answer them. Don't shy away from the fact that this is a mutual selection process and you have the right to ask some questions. Frequently, candidates will say to me, Kim, I know it's important to ask questions, but my mind goes blank. I never know what to ask. If you find that's you, that's okay. I have a bit of a strategy to help you out. The first step is to work backwards from the things that are most important to you. Why are you applying to a job in the first place? Have a list of the things that are most important to you, the non negotiables, as well as the nice to haves, but maybe some wiggle room. Once you've identified those items, it doesn't have to be a lengthy list, 5, maybe 10 things, but I'd probably stick to 5. Then create questions around those items. For example, let's say that you are looking for a job because you want more opportunities to take on stretch projects. So, a question that you might ask at the end of an interview is, what are some pain points that you see within your team that you're hoping that this new person will be able to help to alleviate? You want to know whether you will have access to stretch projects. And by asking a question like that, you'll be able to see not only if there is opportunity for stretch projects, but what those might look like. Or if you're looking for an opportunity that has more work life balance, you might ask, what does the on call schedule look like for this team? Once you've decided the types of things that you'll want to ask about, the next step would be to tailor those questions to the appropriate audience. Most of the time, candidates will interact with 3 different types of interviewers: the recruiter or HR rep, an interview panel member, and the hiring manager. Frequently, the first person that you interview with will be the recruiter or the HR rep. They are the hiring expert and the company culture expert. They are going to be an expert in the hiring process, HR policies, and overall team culture. So tailor your questions to those things. Ask about what's the interview process look like or what are the next steps. High level about the team and the initiatives that they're working on. Ask questions about company culture and benefits. And this is a question that is oftentimes missed, but I'm telling you will reveal a lot, and you can use this to your benefit when you're speaking with members that are part of the team. And that is this a new position or a backfill? Now, if it's a backfill position, it just means that someone's no longer doing that job. It's not a red flag by any stretch of the imagination. All it's an indication of is this is vacant because someone took a different job or is leaving the organization. But knowing whether it's a backfill is helpful to understand why. Many times, backfills are because that person got promoted, which is a great sign for you if you're looking for career growth. Now, if it's a new position, chances are it's because that team is experiencing growth. That means that the initiatives they're working on are being invested in by the company. Also, a good sign. So, you can tailor your questions further down in the process once you know whether this is a backfill or a new position. The next type of interviewer that you may interact with is a panel interviewer or someone who's part of that team or an adjacent team. This is typically a senior or a lead or someone who that hiring manager trusts. This is someone who's going to most likely be interacting with this new person pretty regularly. They're going to be a skill set expert. So ask them questions about what it's like to work on the team or more details about the problems that they're solving. How does this team interact with the team that they're on? It's also good to ask for some tips or suggestions. Is there any advice that you wish someone would have shared with you before you started working here? This person is also a skill set expert. So, this is where you can talk shop with them a little bit more than you could with the recruiter or the HR rep. Ask them about the tools that they're using, or the software that they're using, or the methodology that they're using, and how that plays into the problems that they're solving. They're going to want to talk shop with you and appreciate questions like that. The third type of interviewer is the most important interviewer because they are the decision maker, and that is the hiring manager. This is the person that this new employee will be reporting to. Their role is to manage the people on that team. The hiring manager is the team expert. They're very likely to also be a skill set expert, but they would definitely be the team expert as well. This is a very unique role because this is the person who is ultimately going to be the manager of the new person that they hire. This person is also the one who is responsible to either upper leadership or cross functional leadership. They are the one who is responsible for the team productivity. So, this hire is going to be most important to them. Knowing this about the needs of the hiring manager can help you decide what kind of questions to ask. I recommend asking things like, what does success look like for someone in this role? What are some problems that you're hoping that this new person would help to solve or help to alleviate? Also, because you asked the recruiter whether this was a new position or a backfill position, you can position a question to the hiring manager to ask, I understand that this is a backfill position. Is that going to leave any sort of gaps in your team that this new person should be prepared to step in and assist with? Or I understand that this is a new position. What areas of growth are you seeing this new person to be stepping into? You see, all of these questions are still aligned with working backwards from the things you're hoping to find in a job, but they're tailored to the specific audience and their expertise as well as their role in the interview process. A common piece of interview advice I see on the internet is at the end of the interview to ask, are there any concerns that you have about hiring me? Or is there anything that you need for me to explain? While on the surface, that sounds like good advice, in my opinion, that's actually really an unwise thing to do. Let's say that you had a very good interview. You're asking the interviewer before they step out of that interview room and about to enter their feedback, you're asking them to jog their memory and look for, even in the smallest amount, the things that you executed poorly. So they would ultimately be leaving your interview conversation with your mistakes or your shortcomings at the forefront of their mind. Now, oftentimes people will ask that question in an attempt to turn the interview outcome around. Folks, if you bombed the interview that badly, no amount of 30-second reframe is going to help to win you over in that interview conversation. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but if you really bombed it as badly as you think you are, that you need to ask that question, then there's probably no hope for return. It's far more likely that you didn't bomb the interview the way that you think. And by asking the interviewer to rehash the things that maybe you didn't do perfectly, it's not going to serve you. In fact, it's going to hurt you. I hope you found this video helpful. Please share this with someone who's currently interviewing and that you think this might help. And please give my channel a follow. I'd love to see you back here again. Thanks, God bless, and happy job hunting. Bye-bye.